All right, we are live.
Oh,
Okay, so uh, we haven't done one of these in a while, but me and Bradley have both caught up with the audiobook of Pact. Um,
yes.
are you planning on going ahead and reading after this, or are you planning on waiting for more audiobook?
Ooh,
That's a tough question.
man. I'll give them a little bit of time, and if not, I might just zoom forward as I did before.
I think that's fair because they left at such a cliffhanger.
Oh, yeah.
We finished arc 7.
Ooh.
Before we do that though, I have completed Pale. I read arc 3.
There you go.
So there's no more Pale. On the real though, with Pale, it's like I don't ever want to be the kind of person who is always shitting on something. So, uh, I think Bradley's opinions on Pale would be better than mine. That being said, I did like arc 3 quite a bit more than arc 2, which I went on record as saying I was not a big fan of. So
Yeah.
we could kind of blitz through this one. As a reminder, this arc kind of like Avery has come back from the trial. She's been properly rescued. I think Miss disappeared for some reason, and it's from that point on till kind of the end of the Hungry Choir, which was pretty surprising that this happened this early.
Yeah. Uh, right?
Right?
I don't know.
On one
It,
hand, it's like that is a side mystery, so I guess it should go early. But on the other hand, I'm used to these things being dragged out. So
I feel you.
you were gonna say something potentially?
It's just like where I'm at with Pale, it's like, and this is something I've seen echoed on the subreddit. There's two very good stories going on in Pale, but it's like, why are there two instead of one?
Mm,
Where and I think people are, at least where I'm at, people are still waiting to see kind of where Wildbow's going with everything. But there's like the Carmine Beast murder mystery, which is really really cool, and then that was like that's been like half the story, and then like the next half of the story has been them doing stuff at like practitioner school,
yeah.
which is really fucking cool. So the mystery is cool and the school is cool, but like I don't know. After like two or three arcs of them being at the school, which is where I'm at, people are like when's the mystery coming back?
I hope I enjoy the school stuff because I'm not really a fan of Harry Potter, and I know this is pretty different, and I'm gonna be way more interested in like the actual magic going on.
Yeah.
But like, I already feel like I miss stuff from the mystery bits because I kind of glaze out. Like, my mind stops paying as much attention when side stuff is happening, and then I have to like catch up when like big plot is happening.
And
Um,
it's like if you're doing both of these audiobook, and like I'm reading Pale with like the actual text and I'm
yeah.
doing Pact as the audiobook mostly. Um it's like one thing you brought up is like Pact is in very digestible chunks where like a chapter of the Pact audiobook is like, I don't know, 30 minutes,
Hmm.
but like a Pale audiobook chapter could be like an hour, hour and a half.
They're averaging to be like an hour 15 lately, and
Yeah,
that's heavy, man.
that's a lot.
That is more than to my drive to work and back. So that's
Which
like,
is
ooh,
like that's also like what slowed me down reading Pale is because like when I originally was reading Worm, I would do like, I don't know, chapter a day. I could do that for Pact also. Um, but like as Pale chapters go on, it's like if it takes me like an hour and a half, 2 hours to read a chapter, it's like I don't have time for that like right before bed like I do with
yeah. It
like a Worm or a Pact chapter.
it's hard to slot that uninterrupted chunk of time into a day. Like
Yeah.
because reading, I certainly can't read with anything else going on. Like reading, I am a small brain child. I have to completely focus. So, but as for the actual contents, I wrote some notes per chapter. So like, I'll see if any of these stick out as I'm scrolling
Yeah.
through. But actually, one thing that I thought was really surprising, totally caught me off guard. They were gonna go meet with Nicolette and oh, who is the guy who runs the school?
Alexander.
Alexander. It was right after like Nicolette attacked them in the woods and fucked with Avery and all that.
Yes.
Or was Nicolette's? She wasn't. Was she physically there? Or was she sending like her fucking? She sends animals or some shit. It's been a
Yeah,
while, y'all.
she sent like little animal minions that had like extra eyeballs attached to them.
Yes. Ugh. Um, But what really caught me off guard was how immediately aggressive the girls were in this conversation. They really
Yeah, they
grew
came
some
swinging.
balls. They came swinging. They were more mad than I thought they were. And I was pleasantly surprised about that.
Yeah.
After this, like, there's a point in this arc where the Kenneth others start meeting without the girls. This actually like got me pretty invested because I was like, ooh, this is starting to form a schism between
Yeah.
the Kenneth
That
others and the girls.
it was spicy. I don't know, they had that meeting and I think Avery eavesdropped on them, maybe. Uh but yeah, it's just like I thought they told our girls everything.
Yeah, and like the girls are aware that this is happening, and I think the others are also aware, but like they I guess these are meetings they have to have because the girls are really dead set on the Hungry Choir, and the Kenneth others like really don't think they should interfere. They're being really passive about this, and the girls are like, these people are eating other people and erasing them from history, and we need to help our friends, so we're gonna do
Yeah. And the others are like, I mean, that's like, that's not your job. That's not what we brought you on for.
it. The problem children and their other parents. In chapter 3.5, this was something I didn't like. Um, it's Avery's point of view, and they're with Matthew and Edith. And this, like, I got, like, slightly hot and bothered in a car because I was like, oh my god, you've been expositioning for 42 minutes.
Ooh.
Because I think they were talking about what kind of others they were. And I
Yeah, like
don't
diving
quite
into Edith's
remember.
background.
I don't quite remember the specifics, which is uh, bad. Like, here's the thing: when it comes to Pale, my opinions should not be cared for or matter at all. I'm just throwing them out there because I read it and it's a Wild Bow story, and I like keeping track of his progress. Or I don't know, his writing style's definitely changed since Pact in a
Yeah.
direction that I may not like as much. But then
That's what I'm
again,
wondering too.
he made the Gabe interlude, so he totally has it in him.
Yeah, like it's still there. I still hold the opinion that of all of his books, I think Pale has by far the strongest first arc for me.
Yeah, that first arc is pretty
Uh,
good.
but then after that, like I don't know.
Hmm.
This, I don't know. I think if the chapters were more digestible chunks, maybe I'd be vibing more.
This
I'm still
arc,
probably gonna finish it.
yeah. See, here's the thing. I'm not gonna like do too long of any discussions on these. That's why we're just
Yeah.
skipping to the highlights here. Um, but like when I'm bored enough, I will go back to it. I'm gonna be stubborn like that, and I hope I do like the
Yeah.
school stuff. But like another cool thing in this arc was just the execution of Verona's just it's straight up hatred at this point of living with her dad. Like
Oh,
it
dude.
felt like annoyance early on, but by this arc I will just define it as hatred.
Because wasn't there like the thing where so like Avery gets stuck in the path and Verona's like Avery needs me and her dad is doing his shit and she just like viscerally screams at him like not even words.
Yeah,
She's just like
yeah, there's a point where she just screams and I was like, "Oh no."
I was like god damn like
It was so well executed
Verona
actually.
and her dad are like one of the most entertaining things in the story to me.
Yeah, I
I think
know.
Wombo did such a good job with them.
It's like a morbid curiosity cuz like
Oh yeah.
he was setting up this like, oh, we'll get pizza and we'll have like a night together, and Verona was kind of like she was slow to open up, but she was starting to open up. And then
Oh yeah.
he hit her with like just some guilt trip bullshit. And then she was just out of there. uh
Yeah, he was like playing up this whole like, we can go get dinner, we can go do something fun, and she's like, you know what? Maybe I don't give him enough credit. Maybe I'll try it out. And then like I think it was like a few hours later, he's just laying in bed. He's like, what if we stayed in the
yeah,
night? And she's like, you fucking dick.
yeah, oh my god, so slimy, man, so well done. Bravo. I don't remember how the Zed fight started, but there was a weird Static Man rewinding with the music, and I was just like, "This is cool." And we later find out he's a
Dude, yeah.
technomancer, so he does magic through technology.
Yeah, it was like this thing where it's like he plays a cassette tape, and while it's playing, this like dude with a mullet and booty shorts comes out and fights alongside him.
What
I
a
thought I thought it was
familiar.
cool. I thought it
or
was
whatever
cool.
it is. It's just silly when you like say the specifics, but like yeah,
Yeah.
that certainly helped me like get more excited about this arc. It's like some cool encounter because
Yeah.
Pact will just like throw out really creative encounters here and there all the time.
Dude, like every fucking chapter in Pact, life-threatening encounter, and it's
Hmm.
fucking cool. That's what I love about it.
I know that's what wears some people down though, so I guess it's a double edged sword, and we'd fall on like I don't know, we
I'm on
just
the
deal with it
broadside of
better.
the sword.
Yeah, exactly. What else? Oh, dude, they meet Luis from Blood Runs Cold in this arc, don't they?
Yeah, finally. Yeah, I was like, wow, we get to see our girl.
That was pretty wild. I don't think we got anything too crazy from this conversation. They just learned some events from that night, I think.
Yeah.
I could be wrong. I think there was also a point where the girls fight the goblins here, and I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah.
But
C-
yes.
Oh, I'm just like, man, I want to see them fight all the Kindred Udders. And like, I don't want to see them fight all the Kindred Udders
That
because
would
they're
be
supposed to be
cool
friends.
because
But I'm like, that would be cool.
there was this portion where Guillermo comes out and he's like I picture him like Set from League, just like
Yeah.
this hot man. Though it was a younger version of him that came out, and I don't know what the fuck that
Yeah.
was about. I
And
guess that
Lucy's
must be
like, yo, yo,
glamour.
yo.
Yo, yo, yo. He's kind of hot.
Lucy's like a wooga.
Ooga. And they were train fighting, and I was like, ooh, there's something there. That's cool. They got some cool chemistry
Yeah.
off of that. He hasn't done shit all this whole story, so I was like, oh, who's Guillermo again? The interlude is from Zed's point of view.
Yes.
And Zed and Nicolette and some other people, like Zed's friend, not Bree, but the other friend. Like, who's the girl who's with Zed?
Bree was the winner of the Hungry Choir
Yes.
competition, and she's like Brett Zed's significant other.
She
question
is
mark?
with Zed, aren't they? Isn't
Yeah.
she? Because like the way that they bind the first of all, the choir was as scary as always. I can't believe they survived the situation. Like I feel like the way Wildbow describes the choir makes it seem unbeatable. Because like he just describes it as like these waves of little kids like biting at you. It's like how Zed got away from that as fully composed of himself as he did is beyond me. But like Bree, they bound the choir to Bree's body, but she can't ever stop eating. Is that how that works? There was something like she would like there at some point she just like there was like black marks around her and she just would not stop eating. I was like I feel like I missed an important sentence here.
Have they bound the choir to Bree's body?
I thought they did in the interlude.
The interlude where they fight the choir?
Yes, 3
Yeah.
Z. Yeah.
Yes. I thought the way that they beat it was cool. Cause like, like you said, I was like, would you even beat this thing? But then they go for like a really obvious route of the whole point is that like once you win the prize, you can never be like inhibited from eating whatever it is you want to eat.
Yes.
Like the choir will just like provide it for you.
Mm-hmm.
And so she's like, oh, well, I want to eat the one at the center of it, so they can't stop her from just chowing down on like the core of the choir.
One thing worth mentioning is the one at the center of it was the black dog that John, like it was John's companion that
Yes.
got. I did not catch how the companion turned into the choir. I don't know if that's come up yet, actually. But that was a bit of a bombshell.
I remember how they like came to the conclusion that it had to be her because they were like, conveniently the Hungry Choir appeared at the exact same time
that Yalda disappeared, I believe is her name.
Yeah, and like the only personality trait they had ever heard about her is that she loves to sing, and they're like, huh, choir? Anybody?
Makes you think. But you know what? That's Pale. Please join us for a regularly scheduled Pale 13 minutes of talk in a couple of months, because that's how we operate. Do you remember the last things we talked about Pact? Because I don't think we talked about Pact Arc 6, did we?
I don't think we talked about Pact Arc 6. I think we only went through 5.
Yes. So, Pact was a banger. This might have been
God.
the best two arcs of Pact, and that's saying something because I've loved every arc of it. I'm keen to, while I'm waiting for the audiobook, I'm kind of keen to restart it. Like,
Dude,
That's
I
kind of
feel like
crazy.
this would be a super fun book to reread, I think, just because of the whole gimmick of like conversations or battles.
Yeah, exactly. And like there's so many things that I'm hazing on because I wasn't as invested in the first arc. I kind of want to like read the sections where Blake is running away from like Maggie's whites. No, that wasn't Maggie. Who like see, I don't even remember.
Uh
Like the creepy skeleton things that he was like driving away from in
oh,
the
I think
first
they
arc.
speculated those were from I don't know if she's been named. I think they just call her the Briar Girl.
Holy shit, the Briar Girl. Oh,
The
that is a
Briar
character I
Girl.
haven't thought of in months. Yeah, that exists. Wow. Dude, all of the fucking Jacob's Bell people.
Woo!
I have a theory that was supported by I did listen to a few of the Doofcast podcasts on this.
Oh yes.
There's a portion in Arc 7 where Maggie is like not herself, and I'm like, I'm gonna guess this is Padraic, and they guessed the same thing, so it means I'm right because those guys really pay attention to the story.
Yeah, they pulled and like I had an initial like when I was reading I was like, man, Maggie's like so weird. What's going on with her? I hadn't thought about Padraic, but like hearing all the things they say to support that theory were so cool because there was a thing where it's like I think some others, specifically Isadora, like refer to her as Maggie with like she's like Mag.
Italicized,
Yeah,
yeah.
it's like italicized or in quotes like Maggie. And I think the first time Maggie shows up, there people call her stranger or something, like
Hmm.
people who should otherwise know her name.
There's also
So
a
I'm like,
point where
man,
like Maggie swears, or she says like bastard, which is like pretty harsh for her
yeah, yeah,
language.
yeah. She and like I think there's that, and then another time she's like about to say a bad word, and then she's like, wait, really? I can't say that. And then
Oh, that's
I'm like,
so
man,
weird. Like I don't know. The reason I was a lot simpler with it. I was like, Padraic had too much shine earlier in the story, and I don't see how else he could come back. And I'm pretty sure, he was a fairy. No, he wasn't a fairy, but he had a big part in glamour. Like that was like
yeah.
a one of his specialties, as I
Yes,
recall.
yes, specifically like glamoring up, and it's like that would also explain why this like what 16-year-old girl is able to leave school and her family to go fight in this war.
Hmm.
So
Yeah,
yeah.
like so we'll see when that turns out to be 100% true. But like,
Oh yes.
uh, next arc is gonna be wild whenever we do get to that. But some cool things that I found in Arc 6. Um, One of them is the concept of the Black Guard. So in every magic circle, you keep someone non-magicked up so that they can tell lies. So like the knights
That's
have a
so
Black Guard, and I
cool.
was like, of course. Of
That's so
You keep
cool.
them adjacent enough to where like they're in the circle now, and you're responsible for them, but they can lie. That's very cool,
That's so cool.
and that could be
It's
really
also cool.
abused because like I don't know who the Black Guard in this group is, and like so you might have different expectations depending on who
It's
you're
also
actually interacting
cool
with.
because like the blackguard for the knights, she can't like see Rose, she can't hear Evan. So I just
Oh
imagine
yeah.
blackguards, they just have to like take all of their friends at their word that this stuff is real. you know?
Hmm.
That's so cool.
Uh, there's this moment where Blake almost cries when he goes home. And I
Oh,
think I forgot what happened at the end of Arc 5, but something must have happened where he was worried about his friends. Uh, and like anytime Blake shows emotions or he feels like anytime Blake gets a rest, I feel very warm and good inside because he really goes through it, you know?
like if he can like if he gets like a 15-minute power nap, I'm like, oh, my boy needed this.
Yeah, there's that night where like the one where like Rose was like, "Yeah, by the way, Maggie doesn't sleep. It's kind of creepy." That like Blake barely got some rest, and I felt like I was the one who was resting because
Oh
I
yeah.
feel like this story just keeps you on the edge of your seat for so much of it. Mm, yeah, so I took a note here where I'm like, a difference I feel between Pact so far and Pale is that the conversations in Pact really lean into like the conversational battle aspect, And
Whew.
in Pale they do as well, but I feel like in Pale they go more of like a we're literally just interviewing people for about 30% of the conversations and learning about them. And sure, those people might be lying, but in Pact, like, Blake and the person they're talking to are like they're both tiptoeing around saying certain things. An example is after Blake inevitably kills Laird, the conversation that Laird's son has with Blake is just so choice.
Oh
Uh,
man.
we could save that for a little bit, but I really love just the way people talk around each other. Isadora does this a lot as well.
Yeah, it's like the conversation battle aspect of this universe. I feel like I feel like the difference between Pact and Pale is Pale, the conversation battle is more like a war, like it's a long ongoing thing. Pact is like the this aspect of the universe is more contained battles. It's like because like in Pale, they're like, how do we say things so that later on we don't get fucked or
Hmm.
whatever? But in Pact, it's like, how do I get through the next minute of this conversation without completely destroying my status in this world?
That is so true. Yeah, I totally feel that. Ah, man, every converse like not every conversation, but especially when you're dealing with like Conquest Circle, every single sentence is really tense, and I love
Oh
that
yeah.
about it. This is also so the contest is going on right now. Uh, this is the part of the story where Blake does bike jousting with Evan
Oh
against
my
the Shepherd,
god.
and I was like, "This is so cool!" Because they're just getting swarmed by ghosts, and I think the way that the like when ghosts go through Blake, he feels like phantom pains that they felt.
Oh
So
yeah.
like he has to like just joust around and like he points and like Evan flies in front and like parts the ghost and they're just like zipping and zooping and the eyes doing shit and the astrologer shows up. This shit was nuts.
Dude, it was badass because like Blake did that move where he points and Evan just flies. And like me, the reader, being like one of the spirits in this universe, I'm like, oh, that's definitely gonna have some extra power on it. And then I think later on, Evan's like, Blake, remember when we did that thing?
Yeah,
That, he's like, that was cool, right?
that's cool, right? Oh my god, not enough can be said about how perfect like Evan completed this story. Pact was already amazing. I feel like it's when Evan was introduced that it became like not just like so Worm ended up being my favorite book. I think Pact is just gonna end up being like top 5 stories period for me because I just
Like, period.
connect with
It's
it
so
so
good.
good. Um, what else happens here?
Dude,
Fell dies eventually, which was
oh,
crushing.
my boy. He just wanted to love his car, man.
Dude, I don't know if it was in this arc, but I think it was. There's a moment where like Fell and Blake finally bond a little bit, and it's because
Over
of
their
how they
vehicle.
both, yeah, they both value their vehicles. And as
Oh,
someone who also has like a weird kinship with his vehicle, like it's nothing special, but I've always deeply loved my vehicles because they get me from point A to point B. And I guess I just really value the freedom of going where I want when I want it. Having a vehicle break down just like completely ruins my mood. So I felt like one of the boys there. I could definitely relate with them.
goddamn.
Let's see what else.
Dude, also, if you want to talk about Evan being awesome,
I do.
man, just like one of the most sweet things to me was so Blake goes into his like healing coma, right?
Hmm.
And he's talking to one of the lawyers in this space in his psyche where they're like everybody kind of has one of these. It's like a refuge, like a place. This is what your
Happy
inner
place.
peace would look like. If you could get away from it all and have exactly what you want in life, this is that place for you. And to Blake, it's like he has his motorcycle. He's like out in the country, and the only other thing in the entire world with him is Evan on his fucking shoulder.
I know, right? And I think he even questions himself. It's like, where are my other friends? But
Yeah.
he never like acknowledge. I feel like Blake doesn't acknowledge how much he cares about Evan. Uh, do you feel that way? Because I feel like, and I might just be reading into it because I love their relationship so much. But I'm like, Blake, and the reason why Pac became so good is because Evan really completes Blake,
Oh yeah.
in a way where it's like, and he even mentions at some point, it's like Evan's innocence is something that I wish I could still have or could go back to. He mentions how he doesn't want to like corrupt Evan, with the craziness of this world. So
Man,
it's like, man, they're just so sweet together, and I wish.
talk about corrupting Evan. I love the part where like Blake introduces Evan to all of his friends, and he's like, "Man, on one hand, I don't want Evan around all this like cussing and smoking and drinking, but on the other hand, he did just help me fight a literal demon. So I guess this isn't that bad."
Yeah, honestly, the kid's got to grow up. He's not gonna be 9 forever, except that he's
Oh
gonna be
yeah,
9 forever.
yeah, right.
So another neat thing I noticed in these chapters is the comparison of Blake as the warrior to Rose's thinker. And I was like, huh, interesting word choice, Wildbow.
Yeah, I was like, that's cheeky.
That's cheeky. I like that. Uh, so I wrote chapter 610's an excellent chapter. Oh, this is before the skip chapter. So I think this must have been when they were back in the prison or the prison yard. Because I think they
Maybe
went
so.
to go collect Blake's things again, and then they got into the Beehive big stand battle.
Oh man.
Let's see. There's a good conversation between Blake and Isadora about right and wrong and reality, and how Blake multiple times in the conversation took the third option in a binary. Right. There's a conversation where Isadora, they're talking about right and wrong, and Blake always found like the third path in anything they were talking about, and I just thought that was interesting because it's like,
That is cool.
and maybe that's symptomatic of the story, right? Because like I feel like a big binary is like, is Blake gonna live or die? And I feel like he's gonna be
Yeah.
an unfortunate third path. But I hope
Like
it's
I
better
had
than
the
death.
exact same thought where it's like people give Blake exclusive like there's two options. There's live or die, but Blake has kind of said fuck you to a lot of people's expectations for what's going to happen to him so far.
Yeah.
So I'm like, man,
However, that's definitely caught up to him by the end of this
yeah.
arc, where he
You know
has
what?
maybe died. I mean, there's no way Blake dies in arc 7, but I'm worried about how that's going to play out.
Dude, I have no idea what comes next in the story. I'm very
It's
hyped.
very exciting. Okay, this is also like the point of the story where Blake, like Rose has started summoning a bunch of demons without Blake's consent, so she's just going off.
Oh yeah.
I keep
And he's
getting-
terrified.
Yeah, is this where he summons Midge, who's just like a overgrown woman ogre lady?
Oh yeah.
And
Oh man, when they're surrounded by like all the dolls that do different stuff.
that
And it's
was
like
I wrote straight up stand battle in that chapter. That was the most Rocky-esque stand battle I've ever seen
I
in a
know.
non-JoJo
I was reading that.
fiction.
I'm like, this is a long range automatic stand. And it's like they're able to buy their way out of it with Midge, but then they're like, well, shit. Like, Midge was able to beat all of them, and now she's turned on us. So what do we
Yeah.
do now?
I think there's a point where Midge just tanks multiple of the exploding dolls
Oh, yeah.
and just really shows off her durability. But that was so cool where like each doll reacts differently. Oh, love that shit. So the skip chapter, right? What a fun gimmick. I mean, let's just admit.
Dude, he got me with it twice because so I was reading it in text first, and I remember I was on like 3.10 or whatever, or 3.9, whichever one it is. I think it's 3.10 goes to 3.12.
Yeah, it's they skip 11.
Okay, they skip 11. So I was like, I like read 3.10 and I hit next and it went to 12. I was like, huh, that was weird. I went back, I hit next, and I was like, maybe WordPress is like bugged or he put the wrong link or something. So I went to the table of contents and I clicked on 3.11 and I was like, what the fuck? It went to 3.12 again. So I was like, I like Googled to see like, is there a problem with the fucking website? Like, where do I read 3.11? And then eventually I just like scrolled down to the comments of 3.10 and I saw a comment that was like, all it said was like, yes, this is supposed to happen. And then, so I was like, oh, that's fucking cool. And I read the next chapter and I was like, oh, cool. There's like a little Skippy there. But he got me with it again because I forgot that happened. And I was like listening to like the 5, 6, 7 audiobook.
Mm-hmm.
And I listened to 6.10 and then,
They
like,
play
the
the
next
opening. That's how they play the opening, and then they play the opening again because it starts the next chapter. It's like, wait, what?
yeah, I was like, what the fuck is happening? It's like, is my app that I use to download these not working? And I was like, God damn it, after I remembered.
After the skip chapter, I think this is the point where Ainsley is using her candle magic against Blake, and Blake
Yeah.
just like starts like counting in reverse to fuck her up. I'm like, that is so petty. I
Like,
love it
it's so petty and it's hilarious,
because it
but it's
works.
like, yeah, it actually kind of works. And I'm just like, that's that's what I love about how tooth and nail Pact fights are, because he has to stoop to shit like that to get by. Like, if he didn't do that, who knows what would have happened?
I think of the fight that happens later where like Blake is trapped between a bank of snow and a car, and Conquest is just wielding his huge ass gun and like curving it around the
Oh,
car, like stabbing it at Blake, and I'm just like, oh. Oh man, like action scenes in this are by far my favorite out of any Wild Boar work. I got tired of like some of the worm action, but I think in Pack there's less parties, and because of that, I feel like it's more focused and more like highlight after highlight after
just
highlight.
like Blake by the skin of his teeth.
Yeah. So I want to talk about Ainsley a little bit, and I don't know if this was just me, but I felt like she feels like the only Beheim who could ever trust or potentially befriend Blake, and I might be reaching here. Like she might be completely unimportant.
Dude, I felt like she was starting to understand him a little bit.
Yeah.
Because there was a part where the goblins were about to attack her, and he was like, "Look at me. I don't want them to hurt you." And obviously, he can't lie that blatantly. So
Yeah.
she's like, "Wait, so this guy's not like just mustache twirly evil?" She's like, "What the fuck?" And that after that, she kind of starts like not listeting to him, but
Cooperating, I suppose.
she'll hear what he has to say at least.
Yeah. I don't know. I have a feeling it's just one of those you know how Wildbow sneaks important characters past you with his huge roster of
Yeah,
characters?
you
I
just
just
know.
I just have a feeling Ainsley might be one of those, and I don't know. It'd be cute if she was Blake's wife, because he needs a spouse, right? Eventually.
Yeah, I can't remember how old this person is,
Oh
but
shit! Wait, you know what? Never mind. Let's
wait. Oh
nix
no,
that.
she's 8 years old.
Nah!
Nah, I don't know. She's probably a teenager or something.
I felt like she was around his age, but I could be wrong.
I can believe it.
And then the interlude was about Rose and Amon, and it picks off right after they've boned.
Yes, fantastic.
Fantastic.
He just fucked a diabolist.
I think the gist of this was like as they grow up, like Amon's not allowed to hang out with Rose, but he does it anyway. So you get like kind of an old school bad romance vibe out of them.
Yeah,
And
and man,
I think the gist is like Rose is like, "Yo, dude, let me possess you, and then you can blame me if something goes wrong, right?"
yeah, because I think both of them kind of realize the whole family feud thing is bullshit.
Mm-hmm.
And she seems to have a plan to eradicate this feud, but she won't elaborate fully to him what the plan is. She's like, "Trust me, just let me possess you." And for me, I'm like, I don't know what to believe, because I could believe that she actually wants to get rid of this feud, but it's Rose Senior. So I'm like, is this her plan to get access to children to sacrifice or something? And
Jesus.
but like this chapter made me just fucking hate Laird as a person, because
First
we
of all, he's
saw
a
them
little shit child in this
like
chapter. So.
he's a little shit child in this chapter, and it's like his father was willing to work with Rose to I don't know, make a better future for all of their children.
I think specifically Rose was like, fight for the freedom of your children, and she did, and look at where it's gotten us.
Yeah, and then so his father was so
Open-minded.
at least yeah, he's very open-minded about this, and then we get to Laird, who is the most anti-Thorburn someone could be.
Yeah. There's some characters that say Thorburn with the hard R. Fell was one of them.
Ooh, he's one of oh,
And the Beheims are the others, where they go,
goddamn.
Thorburn. An interesting thing about this, it implies that Rose taught Laird diabolism a little bit on the side.
Yeah, because I think part of this was I don't know exactly why she wanted to teach him. I think she said something like bridging the gap between the families, or it's if our families are gonna trust each other, maybe you guys need to know basic diabolism, because it's you'll be able to tell if I'm doing something fucky.
Yeah. There's also some hints to like a reflection ritual that Barbatorum can do. I don't know if I
Yeah.
caught that right. If it didn't feel like it was a hard confirm event of anything, but it felt like it was a keep your eye out kind of moment.
Yeah, because just the fact that they said reflection, I'm like, obviously, whatever fucking ritual she's talking about has to do with Mirror Rose, right?
I would think so, right? Which we
And
haven't talked a lot about her, but finish your thought and then we should talk a little bit about Rose.
I'm just like, so like, obviously, Mirror Rose is supposed to be like the female parallel version of Blake, but then
Right.
like Rose talking about this mirror ritual has me thinking like, is this literally Rose Senior but younger, or like what is going on?
I think that is the case. And I think I can only say that because when I've gone into Reddit threads about Pact, you know when you could go into something and you see the spoiler marks in the middle of a sentence and your mind can kind of get the gist of what they might be talking about in the
Yeah,
spoiler
it's
mark?
like based on you. It's like what you omitted was like a spoiler in itself.
Yeah, so I feel like that is a viable solution, which would be very interesting to see how that
Mm,
plays out when Blake truly confronts his grandmother. Uh, the thing is, Rose's personality is so Rose, you know,
yeah.
and I can definitely see when she's an alternate Blake because they can both be so stubborn and like
Oh yeah.
I like Rose is just kind of like I love Rose as a character, but if someone was like Rose is like the worst character in the story, I hate her. If you're like the kind of person who like how much you would personally enjoy to talk to that person and how that impacts how much you like a character, then I could totally see you hating Rose, right?
Like
Because
she's people are probably like they treat her like Skylar White, where it's like, man,
yes,
what? Why does she always disagree with Blake? She's such a
she's
bitch.
such a bit. Yeah,
And I'm like, man,
she has a
she's
shit
handling
end
her.
of a stick. Uh,
She is handling her situation way better than I would be handling it.
yeah, and I mean, she snitched on Blake one time and told him I just remember she literally told the Conquest the worst weakness of Blake. And I was like, why did Conquest go straight for like Ghost? That doesn't seem like his power or like something he would immediately pull out. It's because Rose fucking pretty much told them to go that route
Oh man.
with the vision. So that's unfortunate. But also like she's constantly giving Blake like side eyes and arguments, but they also like work together in unexpected times in a
Yeah.
natural way. So it's like it's not a completely like tumultuous relationship. It's just like you're going to replace me one day and we don't really see eye to eye, but we need each other, so let's work together.
Oh, dude, and talking about that. So like, we learned in that one conversation that Isadora kind of confirms like if Blake dies, Rose isn't gonna just
Disappear.
disappear. Like she's gonna take over. And so at that point, I was like, did Rose just become Blake's biggest enemy in the story? Like if she finds this out, like is she gonna conspire to kill him?
You know what's
And
awesome?
so
Uh
like that was an awesome terror to think about. And then we find out later on that Rose actually already knew this, and yet she was still helping Blake. And I'm like, that's so good.
I think the way Rose acts after Blake disappears is pretty telling that she wasn't malicious
Yeah.
necessarily. She was playing her cards. Like I did not feel that she was being conniving and she was hoping this would happen. She felt confused in a natural way. But like, you know what's great? All these demons Rose are summoning. Wildbow has sneakily introduced us to all the mini bosses of Arc 14, 15, and
Oh,
16.
when Blake's gonna have to fight Rose.
When Blake and his boys are fighting. Oh, dude, he's gonna have to fight the friends too because oh no,
Oh, because
oh
the Roses now.
fuck,
That's
no,
see,
he's gonna.
that's what's crazy to me because like so at the end of arc 7, right?
Yes,
Blake, gets spirited away by the demon, kind of literally.
yeah,
Um and so Rose like leaves a note to herself which is like these people around you may or may not be yours now. You can use them. I know that sounds manipulative, a little fucked up, but you know, you
but
might be
we
able to
do
do
what we
that.
do, baby.
And that's like a very possessive term, like they might be yours now.
Yeah,
And I was like, she's kind of speculating to herself, but Rose says, I think I need to go back to Jacob's Bell now.
which
And Ty
nuts.
is like, oh, what? Like he's like surprised. And I'm like, Ty, you barely know this girl. Like, do you think she's the one who's been your friend all this time? Like, I don't know.
Isadora has very perfectly like created these illustrations for the reader of like how the world will fill in a space once it's like erased.
Oh,
Like
and then we see those faces fill in.
that we'll get there in a little bit,
Yeah.
but like it was incredible how well that was filled in, right? But
God.
cool things that happen in Arc 7. One, the way they trap Laird in like the multi-circle with Paws in the outer circle and him in the inner circle.
That is like,
Brilliant.
man, Laird. Like, if Laird wasn't such a fucking douchebag, I would feel bad for him.
How did he even get out of there? I think because they have to leave him alone, and then I forgot.
And that's the thing. Like, so they like trap him in the circle, but this happens right after we just had the interlude that reveals Laird would have gotten diabolism lessons from Rose.
Uh-huh.
So I don't know if we know precisely how he gets out, but it's assumed that he used some basic diabolism.
That's fucking sick, dude.
I know.
That's so cool.
Like, you imagine the whole time he's there in that trap, he's like, as soon as you guys leave, I'm cracking fucking out of here.
Lair doing off-screen diabolism is the hypest shit for some reason.
Man.
What a cool thing to off-screen too, because like that makes sense when you say it like that. Let's see what else. 7.3 is the big fight. It has the bikes. The Sphinx shows up. When the Sphinx straight up ganks Blake, I'm like, oh my god, how can we go? How can there be more story?
Because like he's been injured before.
She got him
But
good.
he is dying right here.
Yeah, yeah, I genuinely believed he was dying. Then like he gets fucking candled man by the candle man, and I believe that the wax is supposed to eventually like dissolve and become skin again.
Yeah.
But that. I mean, I don't know if Blake has a body right now, so to hell with that, right? What's cool
there might not be anything to patch up anymore.
So like Candleman, Bloody Mary, Midge, Paws, and fucking JP are all gonna be mini bosses that Blake has to fight later,
like,
dude.
Let me tell you how like one fucking sentence is like shows so much, like not just characterization but also passage of time, where JP had not been summoned yet.
Yes.
And Blake goes under for 3 days and he awakes again, and Blake's like, what's that guy doing here? And Rose is like, oh, you mean JP? And Blake's like, JP?
I'm so glad you also like latched onto that.
Yeah.
That whenever I think of Rose now, I think of that scene because it really is so telling of like Blake is not awake. I'm going to take the leadership here. I'm going to do what I want. But also like you get this like JP sitting next to her, right? Like they're sitting on like a couch or a chair together. And it's like you get this feeling of like you're the parent or the older brother and your sister has the boyfriend with like his hand on her thigh.
Yeah.
And like and you just have to stare and be like, "Oh, you're doing this now?"
Jesus.
It's so good. What a good visual. What a good vibe. Dude, Fell fucking dies. I like Fell. This fucking sucks.
Man, that was like such a hit, and they even speculate ways where it's like, oh, you know, like if he left a ghost, maybe it's fresh. Maybe we can do some Evan type bullshit to like get a proto Fell, and I think they were like, I don't think we're in any shape to negotiate with the Shepherd, who has probably already snatched him up.
Yeah. Let's see. This is where the Duncan shit happens. Dude, I forgot how did they stumble into Duncan's wife or they went out to go find her explicitly?
Man, I'm not sure. I could see either. Like, I feel like it's too lucky to be pure luck, because the thing, like, no one else in the city was really even out at that moment. I think they conspired this.
I wonder because like JP can sever connections or rewire them, right?
Oh yeah.
Could that be a thing he did, where like he rewire their paths to run into each other? Because either way, it led to a really intense like, I'm inside the house of my enemies and I've been invited here, so you can't be mean to me because those are our rules that we work with.
I think maybe they planned it because like whenever they got into their house, I don't think Blake was like, wait, this is Duncan's wife. It seems like they kind of knew what they were doing there.
Yeah, I was caught off guard by like how not caught off guard the characters were. So I was like, this is suspiciously planned. I'm gonna assume JP did some wiring shit. Cause I think was she having car problems or something? Like she needed help,
Yeah,
and they helped
yeah,
him.
she was having car problems.
I feel like that could be a rewiring of like
Yeah.
connections or some shenanigan.
Also, like, he's like he's like very well known because I think like whenever people are surrounding Duncan's house, Blake's like, well, Duncan's wife's up there with JP, so y'all better watch yourself. And like they all are like, oh shit.
Yeah, I liked when I think it was Ainsley again, where she's like, "Please don't let her summon any more horrors." It's like you're dealing with like level 3, on
Yeah,
like a 3 scale of the horrific shit that Diabolists go through,
I know,
and you
right?
can't hang. I do really like that,
Ainsley can't hang.
but it goes from the house and just like Duncan is. I don't know why, but Duncan's grown on me as like a as just like a layered replacement, and it something about Duncan's fight with Blake is it's the kind of fight that's so good that the two characters immediately have chemistry that you're into. It's hard to explain, but that immediately got me invested in like anytime Blake and Duncan are squaring off, I'm into it.
All the Beeheims you just love to hate, man.
I really like the Beehives. Dude, remember the Duchamps? Because, like, they haven't been in the story in a hot minute, right?
Right.
What was the
Like
thing
Blake's
with
gotta go.
like the
Like
lady Duchamp is married to like there was some interlude about who she's married to, and it was important, and I don't remember what happened.
I think it was
The drunk,
it's one
maybe?
of the yeah, it's the drunk guy in Toronto. I think he's a worshiper of Dionysus or something.
Yes, yeah. And then he's like got like fraternity and sorority boys and girls in his weird sex cult.
Oh yeah, you
So
just know.
like, yeah, that's not a bad conquest follower to be behind, I suppose.
Toronto got hella sex cults.
Dude, I like the sisters. Something about the sisters is super neat to me. The fact that
Yeah,
they're very like business oriented with the fact that they're a magic cult, which I think is
yeah.
pretty neat.
I think I think what sums them up and like their attitude most up to me is one of the girls is like, we don't go crazy with it. She's like, for me, it's kind of a confidence thing where obviously I wouldn't set someone on fire, but if I'm in a meeting, knowing that I could gives me like a really big confidence boost.
Yeah, and like to stall them, I think JP like they deal with like a fire spirit, right? So they all use fire elemental magic
Yeah.
through that spirit, or are they just general elementalist? I don't remember.
Oh yeah, no, it's like it's like specifically a fire spirit that they have, and JP like rewrote connections so the spirit thought it might be cool to go hang out with the astrologer, and the
Which
astrologer's like, "This is cool with me," and
the
the sister's like,
astrologer
"No,
the astrologer is the quickest. Like it shows you how quick Wild Bill has gotten at making you like a character, because something about her home and her like relationship with her old mentor and the fact she's actually nice to Blake just made me really like that
no."
character immediately. And like she's like, I'm genuinely sorry I had to kill one of you guys, and I picked Fell for obvious reasons. It would hurt you the least. I was like, okay, you're cool. Fuck you for killing Fell, but I also like you, so it is
Like
what it is.
just the description of her living area was entertaining me because I'm like, you can just imagine what she gets up to in here with all these old ass TVs and shit.
Mm-hmm. The fight with Conquest was well done. It was really
Oh my god.
intense. So many cool moments. That car, the moment with the car is one that really sticks out with me. But also, let's talk about the rape scene, because holy shit,
Dude.
what a chapter!
Like, because I've always known that eventually we're gonna have to figure out like some of the stuff that happened to Blake in his past, because we've always known about his issues with physical touch, being around people, and
Not even Alexis, who he like kind of fancies but kind of doesn't. Like he won't even touch her, or no, that's Tiffany. But also Alexis, like he just does not hang. But however, it's very nice how Evan is constantly on his shoulder. That says a
oh,
lot. But yeah,
like if not for Evan, Blake, I think would have just been completely reduced here.
Yeah, dude. Because when Laird says this is for your own good, like, is he just being an asshole or does he mean it? Because we'll never find out potentially because Laird is dead now.
Because I think in Laird's mind, what's best for Blake is that
Death,
he
maybe.
gives up.
Yeah,
Yeah, I think that's what his idea here
I
is.
could see that, but I could also see Laird being like, he was the coolest guy who masterminded all these things for Blake.
Ooh.
You just didn't realize it then. I could totally
Oh
see
my
them
god.
turning that, you know.
Oh
Um,
yeah.
but regardless, like that was so intense, and like the moment where Blake lashes out and attacks uh, Laird really took me for a surprise because it was an attack that was so immediately fatal, where you could just immediately feel that things were not about to go well because it was a stab to
Yeah.
the neck. So it's like there's not many ways that you can stab someone in the neck and then not kill them. So it's like,
Yeah. Like when that happened, I didn't think is Laird going to die. I was like Laird died.
yeah.
Like
And
in Blake,
Blake tried to
like
resuscitate him, but I mean, it was, of course, it wouldn't work.
man, like I you just can't I after going through what Blake did mentally in that chapter, I can't fault him. He came out of like those are like the two worst experiences in his life.
Yeah,
And as
replayed.
soon as he came out of it, he just turns to the guy who held him down and made him relive through those. He doesn't even think like I'm about to kill Laird. He just does it.
It's so instinctual.
Yeah.
You compare this to Taylor's first life that she took. Like they made a very big deal out of this. This one is so animalistic, like lash out, and I
Oh
really
yeah.
like that about it. It caught me off guard, but you also like, of course, dude, go off, Queen, because you
Yeah.
deserve it. Also, the fact that Evan's the only thing like gets Blake through it, because Evan is the one who helps Blake cope and also helps him like speed through it, like just jump to the end.
Yeah,
Let
because
let me
Evan's
go
supposed
grab
to
some
be like
water because
yeah, yeah,
we're
yeah.
about to talk about like the most important part of the arc.
The big shit.
But hold on, we were just talking about Evan getting Blake through the most horrible thing that he's gone through. Because I think you were about to say like Evan's supposed to be kind of like a spirit of freedom or like breaking through or like
Yeah, and
unlocking.
like escape and
Yeah,
like I think that's escape physically but also mentally.
it's really cool how they utilize Evan. And
God.
his like quote unquote escape. It's a very abstract power that every time he does, I'm like, oh, cool, he can do that. That makes sense.
Yeah.
But and this is something I didn't notice, but the Doofcast people pointed out. Evan's dialogue after the fact is just for like half a chapter, which is brilliant. It's so easy to miss, but it's
Because it's
so just mwah dialogue.
like a little kid. That's probably the first time he's seen stuff like that, and he's just like, what do you even say? You know?
Yeah. Maybe there are like it's like wow, I thought dying was as low as it can get, but like there's some pretty equivalent stuff out there, isn't there?
Oh yeah.
But the way that so like Blake still is not okay even after they bind Conquest, I think.
Yeah.
The way Evan is like, Blake, let's talk about it, and of course Blake pushes back, but Evan's like, no, Blake, seriously, like let's actually talk about this, and I don't really know how to talk about this. It reminds me of that weird time where my mom just had a boyfriend and it was kind of weird and we don't talk about it, but it's just like it was so mature of him. Blake really needed that. Just like these two characters create the pinnacle S tier. And it's cool because you can link them so close to each other as like one unit because of their like familiar and practitioner relationship where like they just such a good duo, man.
Like, because Evan being a little kid will just that opens the door for him to say stuff that other characters would not normally say.
Right.
And sometimes it's like really obvious stuff that people don't say because, oh, I don't know, maybe it's uncomfortable or social conventions, but also just like very basic stuff where I remember Blake had been talking to Laird, I think whenever Laird was in the circle, and Laird's like, um, well, this thing isn't as bad, or he's like, this thing is as bad as killing 1,000 Molly Walkers, and uh, Evan's like, well, why don't we like, why don't we just not do stuff that's comparable to killing Molly Walkers? You know, why
Yeah,
don't people just not do bad stuff?
he's
I don't know.
learning. He's learning well. But like, and I feel like it's because Blake has well facilitated this relationship. You think back of like how Blake is negotiating the usage of the hyena, right?
Yeah,
He's like, "No, Evan, like let's talk about this. Let's make this clear. Let's have like a clear dialogue. I want you to be in control of when to use the hyena because I know that it means a lot to you and you would rather not never see it freed again, but we might need it, but I'm going to give it in your hands and I'm going to be completely honest." So like he's fostered this relationship of honesty and it pays off in that scene.
and dude, I wonder how that makes Rose feel that Blake does that for Evan, and not all the time for her.
Yeah, like I feel like Rose, she doesn't hate Evan, but she's clearly so annoyed by Evan.
Dude, like now that I think about it, there's this crazy reversal situation, right? Where like we think about June,
Yes.
and you know,
Oh,
constantly Rose is like, June's not a person. You keep acting like she has emotions. Like everything I've ever read about ghosts is that they're
just
they're
an
just
echo.
like they're just echoes. They're a ripple. They're not a person. They don't think. And Blake's like, I mean, everybody says the same thing about vestiges too, and that's what you are. And it's just like this weird reversal thing where Blake treats ghosts with all of this like care and respect,
Yeah.
but is he giving that same respect to Rose? And Rose is like, well, obviously, I know I'm me, but she doesn't extend that same feeling to these ghosts.
It's
And
they're both so complex. Like they're both so complex, and like that's such a good like difference between them, right?
wow.
Because it's like he can't give that same amount to Rose because from the offset, Rose is unsettling. Alternate me for purposes that are clearly nefarious, but neither of us, and I have to believe that she's saying the truth, but neither of us understand why she exists, and it becomes more and more clear that she just exists to take your place. That's
Ooh.
gotta, like, they never acknowledge that that's the rift in their relationship, but that's gotta be a huge part of it, you know?
Oh yeah.
But, you know, in a certain way, like, they also have brotherly, sisterly moments that, like, give me
Yeah.
hope in their relationship, but, like, I don't know. It's not always the case. But,
I'm worried about them.
I now that so they go and fight. Well, before they fight the abstract demon, we have another banger sequence
Oh,
of chapters where they're all just meeting at Blake's house, and suddenly Isadora shows up with Paige, and the rest of everyone shows up, and they're all in Blake's house, and they're sharing this one oven pizza between 18 people, which is super unrealistic.
cracking brewskis with a big titty sphinx and a shepherd, and
Dude,
like,
like
it's
the
so cool.
imagery of Isadora, who is just like a college professor vibes, right? But
Yeah.
but like she must be beautiful because Ty's like hot damn.
Yeah, he's like, yo, yo,
Yo,
yo.
yo, yo, yo. But she's just chilling with brewskis and she's like got both of her hands over her beer and she's leaning back. Like I could never picture Isadora doing that. But also like Paige showing up was just like, who is? I was like Paige. I thought Paige was Blake's cousin, but that can't be right. Why would she be here? And then like it was no, that actually is Paige. Why is she here?
That's
And
what I'm saying. I think she showed up either at the end or the beginning of a chapter, and I was like, what the fuck are we about to do?
it's like Isadora met with her. Paige is first of all she's like one of the last in line because she's lesbian and she totally has the hots for Isadora.
Yeah.
And
Oh,
Isadora's
dude.
like, yeah, we'll be kind of like you and Evan, but make no mistake, she's the
Yeah.
Evan.
Oh man, that was so good.
Oh
And
man.
I also like this conversation because obviously everyone's here as like a what comes next after Blake finding Conquest, and someone at some point is like, so what now, Thorburn? Do you want to be like Lord of the City or something? Do you want power? And
No.
he almost laughs. He's like, are you fucking like? Do you guys people not listen to me? I just want to be left alone.
I Here's the part where I can kind of relate and feel some empathy for the others, right? This motherfucker shows up. He's just a lowly human. Human lives are futile to us because we're beyond that shit. We live for years.
Yeah.
Uh, and he throws everything out of chaos. The reason why Conquest is such a good leader is because we all know what to expect from his wimpy little ass.
Yeah.
Uh, but he throws everything out of chaos, and then he doesn't. He just wants to dip out without any of the consequences. Like you're so presumptuous to think that you could just walk out after throwing our entire system out of whack. You know?
Yeah, they're like, no matter what happens after this, like whether you take power or not, they're like, someone's gonna want to be Lord of the City. So what do we do?
Yeah, the sisters step up, and no one seemed to really have any problems with that. So that's pretty
I
cool.
want to be ruled by some sisters.
Hey, sister. Um, But after that is they go to the abstract demon and fucking die. Blake fucking dies. Just straight up.
Yeah, I was like, oh, this will be a triumphant into the arc. He's gonna take out the demon, and then we're gonna go back to Jacob's Bell. And then
I just
I
thought
was
we were
like,
leading into like Ty dying or some shit. Like
yeah,
one of the friends would die, and that's like the how the story keeps escalating tension. But no.
and like this is such a convincing die that even knowing there's so many arcs left, I can still kind of believe that he's just straight up dead.
The way I think this is going, and I brought this up to you, is they've mentioned Evan the Blood Sparrow, and they've recently been transitioning to Fire Sparrow. And I was like, can he just go full Phoenix mode and, like, because of his link with Blake, revive Blake in an undead Phoenixy state? Maybe?
Pop a Phoenix down.
Phoenix Downs. Like, if Blake has to come back into the story, how would you see it? Because I've seen some fan art of Blake, and I'm like, there's no way he dies halfway through, because it doesn't seem the way people talk about Blake. It's just not the vibe that I've gotten, you know. So like,
Man,
I don't
like,
see how else they could bring him back from anything they've explored in the story.
I'm putting down my money on the Phoenix idea. However he comes back, I'm just excited for what comes after. Because
because you know it's gonna be Blake v Rose.
Like Rose is going to be tangible now. Like that chapter ended with Rose putting her hand on, I think, Alexis's shoulder, and I was like, oh, and then I was like, wait a fucking second.
How'd you do that? Though she can't like temporarily come out of her mirror to like slash Duncan's eyes and shit, but I digress.
Yeah, you know.
Yeah, man. We've talked about how we think this is leading up to Blake versus Rose, and
it's gotta happen.
The other way, it's like the thing is, the Phoenix idea is neat, but how would he'd have to remember Blake, and I don't know if the story is left like, because I feel like Isadora remembers most, because we saw this amazing chapter of like how the rewiring of wires works, and I thought it was super well done, right? Which was the interlude. But Isadora felt like she had the way she speaks, she has context around what's missing more than the other characters did.
Yeah.
I very much like how the astrologer, like, she gave Blake that mug that was her mentor's, which means like she immediately felt like a connection with Blake, which is a real big bummer.
I know.
Like, and then she looks at it and it just doubles down on the feeling of loss in her life. It's like, that's fucked up.
Because she's like, I don't remember getting this mug out, but she's like, the only reason I would get it out would be to make tea, and I would only serve someone tea in this mug if I really respected and liked them.
Oh, brutal. They could have been something, Bradley.
Like, all these gaps appear from Blake's absence, and they all fill in different ways. Because there's like that one, right? And then there's also, there's like the eye where, Conquest orders are like, stand by, and then like when you get the word attack Blake Thorburn, and then okay, no, so in the eye's brain, he's like, when Conquest gives the order, Blake Thorburn will burn, but then Blake Thorburn is like removed from that sentence, and he's like, I guess the only thing that could go there is people. Yeah, he's like, I just burn indiscriminately.
Yeah, so Blake's death is going to lead to just a huge fire, which is very tragic.
And then there's also like, so there's the whole scuffle between the sisters and the astrologer, because the astrologer has their flame spirit, and the sisters actually weren't straight up going to war, because they were like, oh, Blake's gonna mediate the conflict. He'll figure out a way to make things equitable for people or whatever. But then when Blake disappears, she's like, wait, why the fuck are we not attacking her and getting our spirit back?
That's so good, dude.
I know.
I really like the scene with Duncan where he's just like relaxing and like you get the feeling he's like home and he's just like, babe, let me just sit down for a bit. And he's looking at a clock and he's looking at TikTok and suddenly he notices like a skip and he's like, we're moving. It's time.
Yeah, I'm like, I want to know what he's thinking.
What are you thinking, dude? What do you mean time for what? Also,
he's like, all according to plan.
the realization that most time magic, not all, but most the ones that they perform most easily are just tricks of perception.
Yeah, because there is time magic they can do, but Blake is like, for the amount they're doing for one fucking guy, it seems like they're using way too much power. He's like, there's got to be a trick here.
Do you reckon that the slowdown field is real or perception?
So
because Blake did make a point of like, you put in a lot of energy, or someone did. It's like you guys wasted a shit ton of energy on that circle.
Like, here's what makes me specifically think it's bullshit. Laird sent that witch hunter and Jacob's Bell with Blake specifically to tell Blake what the field does before Blake steps in it.
Ooh, dude, good eye.
He's like, he did the demonstration with the coin. So my theory is that if Blake tried to walk to the house, he wouldn't actually lose weeks of his life. He would lose like a few seconds that it takes to walk to the house, but to him, it would just feel like a really long time.
I feel like he would move slow.
Maybe
he'd get there and think he's moving slow and just inch away. And the way that time magic works, no one would see that out of the ordinary. Because I feel like the way the time magic has to work, it also has to have a part in connection breaking magic.
Yeah.
That's how I would picture it. But maybe if he could see through it, he can just walk through it. That if he existed.
I'm thinking one way or another, the Jacob's Bell house is not as off limits as we thought.
A very interesting, dude. That's such a good point. Sending in the witch hunter. Oh man, on my rides, I think I'm gonna restart Pact until there's more Pact.
Man, that's got to be something. Gotta be something.
What a fucking story. I think we covered all of our bases. Good talk. What a good batch of arcs.
Every single arc. I've liked every single arc more than the one before it, and I already really liked the first arc. It's incredible.
And from what I understand, the reason why the next arc has taken so long is because there's a guest reader. So I'm thinking it's either a completely Rose arc, or a completely Maggie arc, or something, or maybe even Alexis or Tiffany.
Who knows?
But I don't know.
Anything's on the table.
Anything. Looking forward to it. What's cool is if stuff does come out at a regular schedule, I'm caught up, and because it's audiobook, I could just get it out of the way as soon as it comes out.
Yeah, and it's funny because for the first time ever, you were ahead of me because I read the end of Arc 7, but not the interlude yet.
Yeah, you were like, this is a good leaving off point.
Yeah, like I read the end of Arc 7, I was like, holy shit, that's crazy. I feel like if there was ever a time to I feel like if there was ever like a divider in the story, this is probably it.
Mm-hmm.
And so I didn't read the interlude yet, and you read the interlude, and you're like, yo,
you gotta do it. And I feel like
shit's good.
And I feel like this is a equally good or even better stopping point.
It's so good.
Man, that's that. We will have to catch y'all in literally a couple of months. Unless I decide to really double down on my Pale consumption. Are you in 6 with Pale? Because they're at 9 right now.
Yeah, I was on 6. The thing is, Wildbow originally wanted Pale to be a shorter story, and I think he set himself like a 6-month time limit. And then he got to the 6-month time limit, and he's like, well, hold on.
That's fucking bullshit. A shorter story when you're there was a chapter that was like 2.5 hours, man. The word count's gonna be like more than Pact by the end.
So, I don't know. I would like to see some more condensed Wildbow stories.
Yeah, I feel like Wildbow could make a banger 12 arc story.
Yeah. I've read some of its short stories that take like 15 minutes to read, and all of them have been amazing. So
yeah, he could make a banger 6 arc story. To be honest, like this dude, He's good. He's a good lad. All right,
Feels-
that's that. Bye bye.
Ah.